Good morning. We have Anna here with us with the Heritage Foundation of Williamson County. May is the month of preservation. I know there's so many things happening in May, but we want to bring and talk about today preservation. So Anna's here to tell us a little bit about that. How's it going this morning?
Everything is going really well. We're nearing the end of Preservation Month, but that does not mean that our interest and love of historic preservation needs to stop. The Heritage Foundation all month long has been encouraging everyone in Williamson County and Tennessee as a whole to really learn more about the importance of preservation and see all of the great historic resources we have to offer. So, all very exciting things.
Yeah, let's talk about preservation in general for just a minute. I think sometimes we don't think about it until places that we remember are now gone.
Yes.
And then we think, man, how did we lose that? Or how is that no longer available? Talk to us more about preservation in general.
Preservation in general, a lot of people might disagree with me on this, but I really think that the field of historic preservation is oddly very forward thinking, because we're thinking about the future of like what sites are we going to regret not having around in the future? What sites are important to save for our children and our children's children? And so a lot of practicing good historic preservation is really thinking about what sites create a community, because historic sites are what give places like Franklin and Williamson County a really unique sense of place. You look back to the beginning of the Heritage Foundation and saving Carnton and a lot of the Civil War history around that. That has been a part of sort of Franklin's public image since the beginning of the 20th century. I remember the other day I was looking at an old advertisement for the interurban railway that went between Franklin and Nashville. And Franklin was advertising itself all the way back in like 1906 as a historic hotspot to see all of the Civil War battle sites and all of that stuff. So that's been a part of our city's ethos for a long time. And that evolves and grows as we go forward and preservation expands to bring in all kinds of new things like the Lee Buckner Rosenwald School that we're working on preserving as well.
Yeah.
So it's all really such an important piece in creating community.
Yeah, I think one of the important things that people, maybe newer people, don't understand, but one of those things that when we're talking about places to save is the Franklin Theater right there on Main Street. For a
Yes, yes.
time, it was boarded up and kind of an eyesore on Main Street. But then the Heritage Foundation was instrumental in bringing that back, and we have that beautiful marquee, and there's so many interesting events that happen there all the time.
Yes, yes, 100%. And particularly with the Main Street corridor, with sort of starting the Downtown Franklin Association, Main Street used to not look great at all. The streetscape project really saved that area. And now it is a hallmark of Main Street America programs nationwide. Business is thriving. You walk around down there, everything is living and breathing. And that is a sign of really excellent placemaking and historic preservation. And really being forward thinking all the way back in 1980 and thinking, all of these broken windows, this isn't great. We can get some really great businesses down here and make this thriving again. And we are just benefiting from that every single day.
Absolutely. Let's talk about you guys released a list of sites to save,
Yeah.
which is always so interesting when I see some of those, because some of those I forget or didn't even realize that those might be in jeopardy. Talk us through what's on that list this year.
This year, we are really focusing on a lot of resources that are county-wide. So we've got the Prior Lily Works throughout Williamson County, which includes Grasslands, Old Town, and most famously Beechwood Hall. Prior Lily was a builder in Williamson County, and it is so rare to have a collection of antebellum buildings in one location where we know the builder and can preserve that work in tandem. And so, of course, as we all know, Old Town is beautifully preserved. And so basically what we're hoping is that through this advocacy, people will be able to see how important it is to preserve these works as a whole. On top of that, we also have the private family cemeteries, or the cemeteries throughout Williamson County. Tennessee really is so unique in that it has so many historic family cemeteries. I have done historic preservation work all over the United States, and never have I seen such a prevalence of gorgeous historic family cemeteries as I have in Tennessee. So, since we have a lot of new people coming to the area, myself included, we really thought that it was important to showcase this sort of unique piece of Tennessee character, just so people are aware that this resource might be sitting on their property or in their neighborhood, and how to care for that.
Mm.
Um, and since I started at the Heritage Foundation, a running joke has been for another one of our sites, the dry stack stone walls throughout Williamson County.
Oh, yeah.
I love those. And the reason why I love them is I grew up in Mississippi. Every summer when I was growing up, me and my family would drive the Natchez Trace to Nashville. And I always knew when we got in Tennessee, when we would start seeing the dry stack stone walls. And my mom and I would just gush over how much we loved them. And after I learned that there weren't really a lot of protections in place for this type of wall, I really wanted to make sure that people knew the amazing multicultural history of the dry stack stone walls, and also learned how to preserve any of these walls that are on their property. We're actually having a practical preservation workshop in August that will help people learn how to do that. And last but certainly not least, and one of my personal favorites, we have the mid-century modern architecture of Williamson County on our Sites to Save list this year, which has taken quite a few people by surprise, just because everybody thinks of the antebellum history here, the Civil War history, and
Hmm.
all of those grand old homes. And so when they see a beautiful mid-century Bernie Tucker modern house that he built for himself and his family as sort of an example of the gorgeous mid-century architecture that we have here, they're like, why should we save this? And it's because Williamson County really started booming and growing into what we know it as today at the mid-century because of the construction of the interstate system. And we have
Hmm.
so many gorgeous mid-century homes, ranch homes, and that's also a section of our community who's been really passionate about the preservation of those 1950s and 60s homes that has felt neglected. And so after we posted that, that's the one that I've gotten the most feedback on.
That's what I mentioned
And
to you, but just before we went live, I was like, I had no idea
yes,
that
yes,
home was even here.
exactly. Exactly. And people who own those homes are like, I'm so happy to see it. I've been a ton of people from Nashville and Davidson County have even reached out being like, oh, I so wish we were doing something like that here. Our mid-century modern architecture is at such great risk. And again, it's about historic preservation being surprisingly really forward thinking and
Mm.
thinking about what the future will want to see from us.
Yeah, yeah. It's something to think about. I think as we go about our day and doing our things, like I said, I think sometimes we don't think about it until it's too late and some of these places are gone. So I'm glad you guys are out here doing this, helping us to remind us to think of these places.
Yes, yes, of course. And that's something that am always very passionate about doing. One of the biggest things that I want to instill in people is the desire to really look at their surroundings. And so we've started a social media campaign, Find Your Place, to just kind of drive around and take a look at your actual surroundings and buildings. It can be something that may not be on the National Register of Historic Places, but holds a special place in your heart. And that's a big part of the way that we are hoping to create this grassroots preservation feeling within Williamson County, which will have a positive effect going forward and going, for generations to come.
Hmm. Okay, tell people how they can get involved or keep up with the things that are happening.
Yes, definitely. Well, people can get more information at our website, williamsonheritage.org. We have recently launched several new preservation tools on our website. I put together a very thorough preservation resources tab where you can do a ton of research on your historic home, or really any building that you might see. If you're like, oh, that gas station looks a little old, I think it might be kind of historic, you can use those resources to look it up.
Mm.
But always, our website has a ton of great information on how to get involved and attend a lot of our events. We'll be doing through our Preserve Williamson program, town halls on the road. So keep an eye out for those events. And we've got a lot of really exciting stuff coming up. So I can't wait to share that with all of you.
Well, thanks for talking to us today and giving us a little insight of those places to save around Williamson County. It's been
Yes, of course.
enlightening, and hopefully somebody's learned something today.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
All right. Well,